I know you used to, part of your job was writing the enclosures, wasn't it?
Yes.
For the negatives. And we still have that, because when I saw your handwriting, I recognised it immediately. Let me see if I can find one. That's you, isn't it?
That's me.
That's your handwriting, look at that, 1963.
Oh, yes.
Ultraviolet.
That's extraordinary, 63.
So we're in the process of digitising all these negatives, but we'll obviously still keep the negatives. So you're here forever, because these are the original assets, and these are absolutely irreplaceable. All of these are negatives of this painting. So that's how many times we photographed it.
My goodness.
Up to about here.
There's another one of mine there. Yes, that's my handwriting. Yes, the 29th of June, 62. After repair to damage.
So Fiona, we're here in what we call the Upper Photographic Studio. I don't know if it was called that in your day, but I think it's the same room. Do you recognise it?
I don't recognise it because everything is so different. The machinery, the positioning, and I wasn't very familiar with the photographic studio because my boss, Bunny Wilson, kept that to herself. She was so busy always, but a wonderful boss. She was an extraordinarily unusual woman. She was golf fiend, and that's where she spent all her time when not in the studio playing golf.
So what was it like when you first joined the department?
Well, I first joined as a 19-year-old, a very naive person who had no job experience whatsoever. But I was welcomed by Bunny and her staff and forced in the deep end immediately to become the photographic archivist. And so that's what I did. And there had been no photographic archivist up
So you were the
until that
first.
point. So I took that on the chin and loved doing it and felt this is innovation. It's never been done. They've never been filed and listed before, even though some of them went right back to the 1920s.
Yeah.
And I imagine I was quite rebellious. The only time that Bunny ever asked me to do something different was when she saw me coming in on my bicycle wearing purple tights. And this was the 50s. That was considered unsuitable for a woman working in the National Gallery. So I had to withdraw those from my wardrobe in slight astonishment. But working there was smooth running, there was no ill feeling, and building up this archive was a very exciting thing to do. I was welcomed by Bunny and her staff. She was a person who I learnt so much from, and I think she did enormously beneficial things for the photographic department. She worked all during the war in that capacity.
Yeah, we have a photograph of her actually during the war. And you were an all-female department, weren't you?
The all-female department, yes.
Was that unusual to have a department that was entirely female?
Yeah, that's how it went then. And eventually, in the 60s, a young man came to join the company.
Eric.
And that was quite an awareness upheaval for everybody.
Yeah, I never met him, but I've heard of him.
He was a very hard-working young man. And then they got in younger people. They expanded the photographic department while I was there. As the demand increased with the colour and the general public wanting more reproductions. So that was interesting, and the staff increased, but Bunny still managed to conduct a very superb team. And well, I was just so privileged to be part of all that. And it gave one the opportunity to immerse oneself in the collection. And if I got writer's cramp from writing the attributions and so on, I used to just go up and infuse a favourite. I cannot describe it. I think I've got what could be about 25 favourites, but they were a source of comfort and inspiration just to go up and sit for 5 or 10 minutes in front of a masterpiece in the stillness of the gallery, because in those days it was not as crowded as it is now.
Yeah.
So that was the most marvellous bonus.
It is wonderful being able to be with a painting here on our own. So
Yes,
this is
yes.
a Wilson that's just come from conservation. So it is amazing to have the
It's
opportunity
wonderful
to see
be
them
able
like
so
this.
close to see all the extraordinary detail that Richard Wilson excelled in, and the inflection of light. And it's very moving to be here right in front like this. Thank you for the privilege.
Oh, you're welcome. It's good to have you back. And then as well as doing the visible lights, we also do X-rays over that side of the studio.
Yes.
And up until a couple of years ago, we had an old wooden box of an X-ray table, which I think was
The same
here in your
one,
day.
yes.
So we've only just recently removed that and moved into the digital age.
That's going to be the horizon, isn't it, the digital?
Yeah, definitely. We made our last piece of film last year, so it's still fairly recent.
Very interesting transition.
Very. So I think you used to work with conservation as well, didn't you?
Yes, I used to spend quite a lot of time with the conservation personalities, some of whom were quite old, like Dr. Roman, but very prestigious. And then I used to come upstairs to see the younger members, who included the very, very remarkable Herbert Lank. And then he had younger people around him, Martin Wilde and David Ball. And then there was John Hargreaves, and they were doing different things all over the studio and always willing to divulge what was going on with their work. And so that was the most marvellous entertainment. But to get there, I had to take a very circuitous route, hoping that my boss wouldn't notice that I wasn't at my desk. But I treasure those memories so much.
Martin Wilde, who you mentioned, was here. He was head of conservation when I started.
Yes, he was the most recent one that left quite recently, didn't
Yeah,
he?
only a few years ago.
Yes. So that was really part of my life. It kind of accompanied the knowledge that I got from the photographs, the infrareds, the ultraviolets, and the X-rays. It worked hand in hand with what they were telling me when I came up to face the paintings. So that was very instructive and interesting art historically. Great privilege to have been with all those people.
So Fiona, if we go down to the research centre now, we have some documents from your time and some photographs that'd be nice to look at. So
Really?
should we go and have a look?
Oh, exciting, yes. Gosh, did Bunny take all these then?
I'm not sure.
That's Lucy, I think.
Yeah, Lucy
Yes.
Close. That's funny, isn't it? In Wales during the war.
Probably.
It's, when everything went to Menard.
Probably, yes. And I did come to a performance of Myra Hess playing.
Wow.
That was my wartime treat, which was unforgettable.
Amazing. How old are you then?
About 8.
You remember it?
I remember it because we didn't live in London, and it was an
Oh, so you came
expedition,
specially, yeah.
Especially, and it was wartime still, and a treat. Listening to music in that atmosphere was so unforgettable. But in the 60s, I spent the evening with Myra Hess at a concert, and she said to me, if there's one thing I'd like before I die, it's to play in another concert at the National Gallery. So I said, all right, I'll speak to the director next time I see him, which I did. Unfortunately, I hadn't prepared myself enough. I went in and I said, Sir Philip, Myra Hess yearns just to play once here. It's her lifelong ambition. No, can't do that. Much too difficult with security. But what I hadn't prepared him was that she would do a lunchtime, which would not have involved security. So it's one of my deepest regrets that I didn't have the wherewithal at the time to persuade him to change his mind.
Yeah.
So that's my little interlude about Myra Hess and the National Gallery.
And did you visit after childhood? Did you come back again before you started working here?
Always visiting, yes. Yeah. And I knew about the collection from the wartime postal exchange. I wasn't with my mother. She was here, we were in Scotland. She always sent it was either the weekly painting of the week or painting of the month. So I was educated with that. It was the gallery. There was no other gallery in the world. And I knew various masterpieces from that. But then after that, I always came back. So yes, it's been part of my life altogether. And then in 1962, I married one of the curators here who was in charge of the Flemish school. And he opened my eyes to the riches of the Flemish school because I'd focused on Italian, having been in Florence for a bit. And for that, I'm everlastingly grateful. And he's now revising the catalogue after 40 years of the Flemish school, which will be available here. So that's another aspect of my art historical education. But I'm fascinated by these documents. These books were part of our childhood education. I always loved them. I've still got my copies. These were really remarkable little books. And otherwise, the layout here is exactly as I remember.
This is where the department was in 1962. So we're here in the library now, which is still in the same place.
That was always the library, yes.
Oh, and the scientific department was down there. Here, photographic studio.
That was Bunny's studio there.
And the publications department, you worked with those?
Yes, we had to cross over to get to the publications department. That was very separate. And then before the terrible Duke of Wellington theft, I was free just to roam all over this building. It was just wonderful.
So you were here when it was stolen. What happened?
I was on holiday, thank goodness, because I'm sure
the actual
I would have been a target for questioning. It was such a shock to everybody.
Yeah.
An instant. Bolts and bars and padlocks and censorship, and everybody's eyes were opened. Yes, it was a real change. Yes.
So Fiona, who was the director when you came?
Sir Philip Hendy, a very attractive man, not an academic, but he was extremely approachable. One day I came out of the library here, and there was the door open in the director's office, wide open, and he was sitting by it. Come in, I've got to show you this. So I went in. He was there with his two Renoir dancing ladies. I've fallen in love with them. We've got to have them in the gallery. I said, do you really think that's a wise decision? Very outspoken. Yes, they've got to be here. Let's just sit and enjoy them. So we sat looking at these enormous paintings, which I didn't think were of particularly high quality. So
did you tell him that?
I didn't say more than the first statement. So there we sat, and then eventually I said, I must get back to my desk now. And sure enough, he managed to persuade the trustees and everybody that they were indispensable. And here they are, upstairs as ever.
Yeah.
But that was quite an interesting insight into his emotional response to certain types of painting. And then Martin Davies followed on, and he was extremely academic, brilliant, but approachable if you wanted to ask something art historical. And then I left, unfortunately, before my great friend Michael Levy took over as director, and he was just the most wonderful company exuberant and enthusiastic and well-informed on all topics, and also very mischievous.
So mischievous in what way?
A really wicked sense of
Oh, really?
humour, and his laughter used to go up and down the corridor.
So Fiona, when did you leave? What year was that?
Well, I think it was 67, I think. And then I became a promoter of contemporary music, which was quite a contrast. And then I had children, so I stopped my aesthetic pursuits to a certain extent, but then revived them when I was older. And I come back, and each time I come through the rooms, I see new paintings that have never been revealed to me in 70 years. And I follow online as well. I did the Pessolino Zoom program,
Right.
which was fascinating, and now I'm going to do more at home to educate myself on paintings that I'm not particularly familiar with. I always come whenever I can.
You're still a regular
I think
visitor.
this is just like my London home. I always come whenever I can. I think I'm coming home every time I go up the portico steps and look down and think, sometimes when I worked here, I used to stand on there waiting for the St. Martin's clock to strike 6. Yes, that's how I am with it. It's wonderful memories and such a privilege. And thank you all for making such an effort.
Well, thank you so much for coming in, and I've
well,
learned so much more about the department and the gallery from you that I didn't know before. So it's been amazing.
Yes, you're very fortunate to be here, all of you.
Yeah.